All right, welcome back to another episode of the Content Toolbox. Today we are talking about writing engaging content, and I have got some fun insights to share with you guys. So buckle up, let's go. I ran marketing departments in corporate America for 10 years and then ran a digital agency for over another 10 years. So I know the roadmap to online success, and that formula always includes producing content to share your message, from your marketing message to sales and delivery. Hi, I'm Jennifer Neal, and you're listening to the Content Toolbox. I believe the secret to finding and creating raving fans online is through you. In building relationships through stories that share who you really are, create genuine, crazy, raving fans that keep begging you to take their money. And on this podcast, we'll be talking strategies, tactics, tips, and more with myself and other industry experts. So buckle up and start your engines, because it's go time. All right, welcome back. Engaging content. This is so much fun, you guys. I get asked this all the time. People are like, oh my gosh, I love your emails. You tell the funniest stories. How do you come up with those? Oh my gosh, we've gotten a lot of engagement lately from some of our new posts and things we've been doing on Instagram, some fun like carousel posts, and we started doing reels where I get to do a little bit of fun TikTok takeoff. Wow, say that 5 times fast. Anyway, so people keep asking me how do you come up with this fun content? How do you write this stuff that is so engaging? Well, I am going to help you guys out, because this is a question that we get asked so often that I've actually, I created some workshops around how to do it, because I knew that, well, first of all, rewind, little backstory, pedal back. So when I decided to kind of pivot my business and shift into really much more of a niche and really focus on content marketing and content repurposing, the thing about content marketing and repurposing content is you don't want to repurpose it unless it's actually good and engaging, right? So if you keep dialing that back and say, okay, well, then how do we actually create engaging content? That comes from stories. And I've done several episodes on storytelling. We have our entire storytelling product, which is amazing. But this all comes from being able to tell a story and then relate that story to your product or service. So that is something that I have just been doing and practicing over the last couple of years for ourselves, but also had been doing for clients for years and years, right? So as I put together all of here's how I'm doing it, I was just doing the stuff in my head, and I knew that I could do it. And I knew that it was engaging because we're getting, obviously, engagement, duh. So I'm all right, so this is working for me, but people are asking me, how do you do it? So I was all right, am I going to be able to translate this out of my head in a way that is going to benefit other people, so that it applies to them? And what that comes down to is really understanding, not just the details, but pulling it away and saying, what is the structure? What are the guidelines that I'm actually following on this? And for me, one of the most amazing ways for myself to discover what those frameworks are and things that I follow is simply by teaching it to other people. And I will often find that as I'm teaching other people or guiding other people through the process, that all of a sudden I discover, I didn't even realize I do that. I'll just be talking along and things just fall out of my mouth. And I'm that was actually pretty smart. Totally wasn't even planning it. It just happens, right? That is something that happens for me. And I know that for a lot of other business owners, it happens as well, because we just get so used to doing things and we don't ever actually explain how it is that we're doing it. So I have done a few of these workshops, and I've done a couple of them online with probably some of you. And then I also recently just did one of these workshops live in person. And it's so much fun. It is so much fun. So I just want to walk you guys through what we do in this workshop. And we bring it, so it's a small group, because I want to be able to actually walk through your content with you and help you to develop some of the stories. And then we talk about how you're going to use that, how you're going to bridge it, and then how you're going to repurpose that. So you come in with basically just a really good idea about some content that you've already done or something that you want to talk about. And then we develop stories around that. And then you leave with literally like a month's worth of content, because here's how you're going to repurpose all that content. Pretty stinking cool, right? Okay, so what we want to do is start with a story. So Nikki, I'm laughing because I cannot pronounce, she has a hyphenated last name and I cannot pronounce, it's Nikki Tolmido, I think, Alamond. Anyway, Nikki Alamond has been on the podcast before. She is a home chef. Her business is Easy Peasy Kitchen, and she does done for you prepped meals, and then she's teaching people how to do food prep and things like that. It's very, very cool. She's an amazing friend of mine, and I can't remember how to say her last name, so I just call her Nikki Tomato Almond because that's what makes sense to me, right? Anyway, it's so bad. I shouldn't have shared that. Okay, so Nikki was at this live event, and I'm just going to tell her story because it was really fun, like how we got there. So she's like, all right, I'm talking about food prep. I'm talking about, like, my core thing is I want to bring people into my challenge where we're talking about food preparation. And one of the main core subjects in her food prep is all about tools. And so I said, okay, what tools? Is it you cover all of your tools in one thing? Do you have different topics that you talk about? She's like, one of my biggest things is sharp knives.
For this, you need a very sharp knife. Can't do nothing without a sharp knife.
So, awesome. Let's talk about sharp knives. So why are sharp knives important? And she's like, well, it's, it helps you get the job done faster. It helps actually with safety. And you can invest in like one really good sharp knife. I'm like, okay. So we're saving money and we're saving time. Okay, but why do we want to do those things? Well, so that you can get your meal prep done faster. Okay, so why do we want to do that? I kept just asking, why? And where we ended up with, you want to be a better mom and spend more time with your family. You want them to have nutritious meals, and you want to be able to go to the soccer games, and you want to be able to go to the Christmas concert and do all of the things that you want to do with your kids instead of having to worry about food. That's why you're doing the food prep. You want to get things done quicker and more safely so that it's a safe place in your home for your kids and for your family and for you. And so what it really came down to was a core emotion of wanting to be the best mom and provide for your family. That is not a direct line to sharp knives, right? Not at all. But what we did is we just kept peeling back the layers bit by bit by bit and saying like, well, why is that important? Why is that important? And I tell you what, guys, every single time you do this model, you can do it for yourself. I perform better when I'm teaching or presenting. So for me, I even turn on my camera and I just talk through it to my camera. I'm like, okay, I just recorded an episode on this. Now, why is that important? Well, because I met this person. I was really inspired by their technique for this and this. Okay, well, why is that important? Why? And I keep talking myself through it. And as soon as you hit that core value or that core emotion, you will know it because it's like you feel it all of a sudden in your gut. You're like, oh, who knew that I was really worried about, like, I just really want to be a really good mom. And that's why knives are important to me. Like, not a direct line, but as soon as she got there, you could see it on her face, her body language, everything. She just, like she was hit in the gut. Oh, that's it. Right? And then you get the surge of excitement, like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like, there really is awesome, amazing meaning behind all the things that I'm doing. There totally is. The reason that we are telling stories to write engaging content is because, like, we're pulling all the way down to that core emotion. Now, I can guarantee you, if you asked any other mom at the soccer field or wherever, hey, do you worry about being a good mom? Do you, like, always want to be a better mom? That, like, most of them are going to say yes. And the ones that don't probably want to, just aren't talking about it or aren't aware of that emotion yet. So it hits every single person. So then I told her to go through and talk about a story where she had failed at some point in her mind at being a good mom and then how she overcame that. And it didn't have to be cooking related. I'm like, don't even make it cooking related. All we're talking about is a story where you're talking about realizing that you want to be a better mom. That's it. Like, we're telling a story, a personal story, and it can be your story. It can be a story that you're retelling from someone else. It can be a borrowed authority story, like you can go out and research information. But I tell you, if you boil this down to a core emotion or a core value, you will probably have a story, because we are developing stories every single day of our lives. It can be a story about how you stubbed your toe walking out to pick up the mail. Like, it doesn't have to be this big, dramatic, huge, amazing story. It's just a story. And as long as you're telling it with details, so we're going to talk about all of the details, how you felt, where you felt that pit of your stomach, what the air smelled like, what you were hearing. All of those things are going to put people into the story. They will remember other times when they felt those same sensations, and they will feel the same feeling that you are conveying. For her, it was, I really want to be a better mom. So she dug around and said, okay, well, there's actually several stories. I'm like, great, let's package them all up. So you're going to write out the stories. You're actually going to bullet list it, jot it out, document it, like however you do it. I don't care what your process is. Sticky notes, cards, voice memo, whatever the thing is, you're going to talk through that story, because it's your story. It's always true, but you may be starting to forget some of the details. So you're going to talk through it and be like, okay, what was I cooking? What could I smell? What are all of the details about the story that you're telling? And then you simply use, and that's exactly how I felt. You reveal, like, oh man, I realized all I wanted to do was be a better mom. And I realized that that's exactly how I feel about food prep, about whatever, about having sharp knives in the kitchen. And then you explain why having sharp knives leads back to that same emotion. But see, what you've done is you've brought people into your world. They have come in. They are engaging because they're feeling that same emotion. They are in the story with you. And then you're telling them, like, wow, I realized this. They're going to realize it too. Don't tell them to realize it. Let them come to the realization on their own. Let them be the hero of their own story. Then you do that bridge. That's exactly how I feel about, or how I felt about this. And you bridge them across, and then they're going to be like, oh, really? Another story. Tell me more. I want to know more. So they come right through, and then they're like, oh, yeah, I totally do have not sharp knives. Oh my gosh, I do spend so much time with my food prep. Oh my gosh, how I can make that faster? Then I can actually get to more games. Like, that would be amazing. Okay, there you go. Like, that's selling without selling. All we did was tell a story. All we're doing is talking about writing engaging content. So Nikki did this process in our live workshop. And you guys, it was so much fun. We walked through several of the people in there. We did individual storytelling, unveiling to get down through those core emotions or the core values and figure out what it is that they were really talking about. And there were so many epiphanies, light bulbs, all these awesome things. And then each of these people went out and they were writing engaging content on their own. So they're taking this stuff and they're going out. Nikki wrote an email about it, and she got more engagement off of that email than she had of any of her other emails. She put a post out on Facebook about it and totally filled up her challenge with that one story. That is the kind of engaging content you want. And there's nothing fake or pretend or icky or anything about it. All you're doing is telling a story. That's it. So when you talk about wanting to write engaging content, you're just going to figure out, what is it that I'm really wanting to talk about? What's at the core of this? Why is this important? Peel back those layers till you find the place where it hits you in the gut and you're like, oh, then when's another time I felt like that? Develop that story. And if you have multiples, awesome. You can tell 5 different leading stories that all come into why using sharp knives is important. Amazing, right? Then people are coming into your world through stories that they are resonating with, and they already know, like, and trust you because they're like, oh my gosh, I feel the same way. This person totally gets me, because you're connecting with them on an emotional level. That is how we tell engaging stories, and that's how we create engaging content. That's what we want to be sharing. Whew, I feel like I need to get off a soapbox right there. Goodness sakes. Okay, so if you want to figure out how to uncover some of this and tell some of your own stories on your own, check out our storytelling product. We actually have where we pulled together all these different experts and created an event, and then we created an entire product around it. You get all of the recordings, you get a book, you get a workbook, you get like all of the insider secrets from each of these experts on how they are telling stories and how they are using that in their business, along with a whole bunch of amazing goodies and lifetime access to all of the recordings and everything, plus the behind the scenes stuff. So super awesome. Check that one out at thesmartercontentformula.com. And if you would like to be part of one of our upcoming workshops, we are aiming to try to do these every single month. And like I said, I just did a live one here, but I have done these virtually as well, and they are just as powerful. So we have a virtual event coming up. Check it out here. We have under repurposingfasttrack.com. So with that, you are going to pick out the content that you want. You're going to come in. We are going to walk through. I'm going to pull back those layers and discover the stories that are important to get people to that core content. And then we're going to talk about how you're going to repurpose that, like what parts, little sound bites and little bits that you're going to pull out to use as social posts, as little snippets. That then becomes your content, and you can literally use that content for an entire month if you want to. That is a perfect way to draw people in. It's a perfect way to create a lead magnet. It's a perfect way to bring people to your Facebook group or into your world. That is what we want to do. So if you want some help actually identifying your stories and how to come up with stories that relate to those core emotions, check out repurposingfasttrack.com. And you can sign up for our next workshop. Love to have you there. It would be so much fun. I have realized that these are a super secret passion I love. I guess it's not so secret anymore. Surprise. But I really love doing these. It's like I find it like a challenge. Like, I know nothing about your industry, but cool. Tell me why that's important. Okay, so tell me why that's important. And we just keep digging because all of us have the same core emotions. They've all these different streams end up back somewhere. And that's why stories work. That's why, because everybody has the same core emotions. We're driving back down to those. And as long as we connect with people on that level, that is what makes people know, like, and trust us. And that's what makes people want to buy our products and services. So check it out, repurposingfasttrack.com, and make sure that you're on the list here so that you can continue getting other amazing episodes from the Content Toolbox and all of our amazing guests that come on. And if you want to be a guest on the show as well, head to the Content Toolbox and you can apply to be a guest on our podcast. So until the next episode, you guys get out there and work on some stories and creating that engaging content. All right, see you next time. So you're going to talk through it and be like, okay, what other knives were on the counter that I knew I didn't want to use because they weren't sharp and it was just going to take me longer? I just jumped ahead. That is actually not what we'd want to do because she's telling a story about something different.